call to order the Budget Committee meeting for August 1st, 2024. Ooh, new mics? Wow, I can tell. I will do a roll call. Rosemary Kane.
Here.
Steve Nesbitt, here. Joseph Paul.
Here.
Pamela Smith is absent. Lisa Strubing is absent. Carol Waig is absent right now. Heidi Watson.
Here.
4 here. We do have a quorum. The first order of business is for the Budget Committee members to elect a chair. Does the Budget Committee wish to move forward with election of a chair at this time with only 4 members, or wait?
I'd make a motion that we waive that till the next meeting.
So we'll
Second that.
table, and would you make that for vice chair and secretary as well?
Yes.
So we have a motion made by Joseph Paul to table the election of chair, vice chair, and secretary until our next meeting, seconded by Heidi Watson. Any further discussion? Take a roll call vote. Rosemary Kane?
Yes.
Steve Nesbitt, yes. Joseph Paul?
Yes.
Heidi Watson?
Yes.
4 yes, the motion passes. Next order of business is to review the information regarding some potential bond questions that will be presented to the voters at a special town meeting referendum election on November 5th, 2024. We have 2 items for the questions. I don't know. One is about a culvert replacement, and the other one is about doing some work at Johnson Field. So I don't know, Mr. Duplessis or Mr. Cross, who wants to go first?
I don't mind going first. Our bond question is basically.
Did I say it wrong?
Oh, no, you actually did a good job.
Okay, okay,
Actually,
sorry.
not too bad. My question is in regard to Johnson Field. It's basically, we're kind of classifying as like a phase 2 addition to Johnson Field, which is a LWCF grant that we're looking to apply for, where we would be looking to secure about $300,000 worth of money from the town, with $150 of it being reimbursable through the federal government. And this grant would go to enhance Johnson Field in regards to ADA paths, a full-size basketball court, and the addition of some standalone pickleball courts to Johnson Field, for public use.
Okay, does anyone on the board have any questions? Mr. Paul?
Has the tennis court been repaved and leveled, and has that already been done?
Yeah, the tennis court went out to bid, and that would be replaced early spring, and it's going to be the full removal of the current tennis court and the construction of a fully new court, new everything, new fencing, new surface, new all of it will be early spring.
Okay, so if this referendum passes, when will this portion?
So we would be applying for the grant in the end of June. I believe it's June 28th, 2025. We would be putting our hat into the ring for the grant, and most likely hearing back from that grant probably October. By the time they make the call, the federal government gives a call whether we're going to make our case or not, and then most likely the Johnson Field Phase 2 would take place probably spring of 2026 after we get all that taken care of.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I could just had a few. So has the Johnson Field expansion, how'd this come about? Have we been planning this for some time and now see a grant and moving forward with it?
Well,
or
the tennis courts were started by my predecessor, that was a bond question.
Oh, yeah,
before.
I think we actually got that
Um,
bond quite a long time ago,
yeah.
didn't we? Yeah. Huh. So, was it a year ago? Because I remember passing one when I was on the chair, too. But anyways, not the tennis courts, I'm just talking about this
This
expansion.
grant was kind of spoken about before I got here in regards to keeping that enhancement going for Johnson Field. A lot of it was being pushed by, pickleball and people
Yep.
wanting that aspect to grow in town. We're constantly getting that aspect. So this grant had been spoken about before I got here, kind of brought to my attention. We went out and securing all of the details to go forward with that, but it was started a little bit before I got here.
Mhm.
And I just kind of took the reins and kind of trying to push it across the finish line.
Yep, well, I know pickleball is very popular.
There's a-
So you will have some temporary pickleball lines on the tennis court until they're complete, correct?
We get probably 3 to 4 calls a week, when can we get some, the pickleball nets, or when can we get playing indoor pickleball? So I think that's one of those things that's been kind of, they're antsy for some courts that just dedicated to that, for sure.
Okay. Just a couple other questions. So it's been planned for a while, but when I look at our capital plans, there's no Johnson Field expansion listed anywhere in it. So that would just be my comment. If we're planning potential capital plans, I feel they should be in this so that it can be judged, because we use this 10-year window to get an idea if we bond this year, what's coming up for the next year, and so forth. So it'd be nice to see projects that we think are going to be coming through to have a placeholder on there. That's one thing I have for that. Any further questions from the time? Questions from Scott? What are we still looking at the capital plan for the bonding? Has that changed as far as you know for this coming year?
No, we're still looking at it.
You're still looking at it? Are we still looking for a public works garage?
We're in the engineering stage. The current engineering firm that we were using lost all of its engineers, so we had to switch engineering firms. So we're in the middle of switching, and we just literally signed the contract today to continue with that, so.
Is it still gonna?
I can't say for sure we'll have a number for this year. It might be next year.
Next year? Okay, they have an estimate for 16 million in the capital plan, so that's a biggie. How often do we do off-site, Scott? Can you remind me, bonds? Because typically we always just bond once a year, but it seems lately we've been bonding twice a year.
Yeah, the main bond bank has tightened the reins a little bit on borrowing money and not spending it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're requiring bids when they go for pricing.
Yep.
So if we're not going to do a project until the summer, let's say, we used to just bond everything in the fall and have that money for the summer. Well, now, if we don't have a bid, say until October or something, after the application deadline, we have to wait until the spring and get the money for the May installment.
Yep.
For the summer. So that's why it's being split up a lot now between the two issues.
Okay. That certainly seems reasonable. It's just nice it's tough to do a budget when all of a sudden, these weren't part of our FY '25 budget, and now they come up, and then we'll have our budget process.
For
That
example,
we don't
right
know.
now I'm adding in the tennis courts into the fall installment because we didn't have a bid in time for the spring.
Yep.
So it kind of mixes years, and it's hard to budget.
Yep.
Makes it
All right.
harder, yes.
Any further questions or comments?
You brought up the Public Works garage for next year. I know that wasn't really on our agenda tonight, but I would have a question about that. Am I allowed to ask that, or should I not?
Yeah.
Okay. John, do you mind explaining to us where that number came from for the $16 million for the Public Works garage?
Similar facility and size being built to what the cost of it was. that the previous engineering firm thought the size would be. I can't say for sure that that's gonna be the same thing that this engineering firm comes up with.
Thank you.
But in general, our debt-to-asset ratio is very low.
Yeah, according to the state, we can borrow up to $103 million before we hit the state limit,
We're well below
which we're not.
that, so
close
it's
to
good. We're creeping up, but there are projects that need to be done. Any further questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the referendum question 2 for Johnson Field?
I'll make that motion.
A motion made by Joseph Paul. Do I hear a second?
Do you want me to ask more questions? Can I ask more questions? I'm sorry, Steve.
Do you withdraw your motion, Mr.
Okay.
Paul? Okay, motion has been withdrawn. Do we have any further questions?
I did email Scott. I had asked him about reserve accounts, if there was enough reserve money to take care of that $300,000. He did send me an email. I don't know if I can find it quick enough, about what was, I was mistaken, I guess, in understanding that there isn't reserve accounts.
Not
Well,
for
there's-
this.
Right, yeah, not for this.
No.
But that's what I was originally thinking, if we have the money tucked away somewhere else, that we should pull from that to use instead of putting the tax burden onto the taxpayers. That's my personal, opinion. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
we don't
there's
have it.
nothing we can pull from.
No. Like I had emailed you about, there's a couple of small reserves that were old ones that the council could reallocate. One was for the skate park, I think.
Mhm.
I mean, that's been sitting there for a long time. They could probably reallocate that. It's minor, though. That's all that we have for recreation.
Well, one of them is almost $25,000. Yeah.
I think that was the community center.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to, I guess that's a decision for the council. I don't know where that community center discussion is going, so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Any further questions?
I'm sorry. Thank
No,
you.
it's all right.
All right.
That's what we're here for. So we have, they're requesting a bond for $300,000. You wouldn't move forward with that without getting the $150,000 grant, correct?
Say that again? Sorry,
So
I missed-
my question is, so we're looking at $300,000, but would you still move forward with the project if you did not get the $150,000 grant from?
I guess I'm,
Oh, would that stop your recommendation? I would say no.
I don't know, because we talked about getting grant money to offset it, a $300,000 project by 50%.
We have to spend the $300,000 to get the $150,000, but we should know that we've been awarded the grant before we start spending the money.
We'll know before we get to that point whether or not we were awarded the grant or not.
Right, but we'll already have the bond, so,
Yeah.
right. Will we have gone out and got the $300,000 bond before we know or after we know?
No, we'll, because we should know by October.
Yeah, I would say early fall we should know, but I don't know, like you're,
It's going to be dicey. We could know before, because the application has to be in August for the fall issue. We could wait till the spring issue of '26, then we would really know. But that would push construction back a little bit, because we wouldn't get the money till May.
You're
yeah, they're not giving us a set time frame in which we would know if we were gonna be awarded the grant. The grant goes out June 28th. They revise it, and then they look at it, and then it depends on how many applicants that they get for this money. They say we're a very strong candidate to win because the Johnson Field has already been awarded 2 LWCF grants in the span of time that it's been there. So, they do, the gentleman that I've spoken with says we're ahead of the game on that aspect, but unfortunately that, we don't know exact date. We can't say it's gonna be August or October 1st. It's kinda like, we know when they, send us it down the pipeline.
Okay.
If I know before the application deadline, I'll go forward with fall. If I don't, I can wait till spring of '26, I guess.
So you're
Pushing it off for a couple of
saying that,
Use temporary financing to start construction in the spring of '26.
So you're talking October of '25, not this coming October, the deadline, because this won't go to the town for voting until November.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What makes it hard is in order for us to go forward, the federal government says we have to have that money in our.
you have to have the approval.
They said that not having it in hand puts us at such a disadvantage in regards to, receiving that. So it's like, in order to have it, if we're gonna go forward with trying to enhance Johnson Field, you're kind of stuck with having to get that 300,000 before we can proceed.
Okay.
I'm just like matching dates. If this doesn't need to be done until October of '25, how come it couldn't be on a municipal ballot next June? Just a thought, just quickly coming into my mind, like, I thought most of our municipal stuff was done in June, not November. Am I wrong?
Yep.
Yeah, I am
Well,
wrong. I'm right.
No, you're right. You're not wrong.
Okay.
I mean,
It's just an honest question.
With it being a presidential election, there'd be more eyes on it. You'd
Okay.
get more of a true sense of the community.
Okay,
it'd be a good turnout, probably.
thank you.
So we have it's a timing thing. I would hope that the town will wait for whether they get the grant or not before taking out the bond money.
Okay,
If there, and as you looked, there is the potential, it's a small amount, to transfer those amounts towards the field if it's possible. I know in the past, legal always says no, no, no on a lot of these transfers, but they seem to be relooking at things and making some changes to say, no, you can release that money now, or no, that money can go towards that because it's liked.
Yeah, I think if the council votes, they're the legislative body and can say that, because we could have reserve monies that are obsolete projects, and we need to do something with
And
the
be
money.
used. I was hoping they would use that for that.
thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to pass the referendum question 2 for Johnson Field?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Joseph Paul. Do I have a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Going to roll call. Rosemary Kane?
Yes.
Steve Nesbit, yes. Joseph Paul?
Yes.
Heidi Watson?
Yes.
4 yes, the motion passes. The next discussion is going to bond referendum question 3, Middle Road Culvert, Middle Road Culvert. Mr. Cross, can you speak to this?
Yes, so on the night of June 3rd, I was called out for a sinkhole that formed on Middle Road at the culvert location. It's where Strout Brook crosses. Currently, there is a 7-foot culvert in there. We basically, from myself viewing it that night, I could see the culvert was in failure. I've included some pictures to you where it shows that the ovalness is no longer there and the bottom of the culvert is in places non-existent. So I contacted our newly engineering firm, went out, a weight restriction was put on it because of the condition that it is in. We have since applied for a stream crossing grant, which the application was to be submitted July 1st, which would be up to $200,000 of reimbursement for the culvert. We have also, like I said, been meeting with the engineers out there. They just did the bore testing on the roadway this past week, and we're waiting on a survey before an official engineer size can be gone. It will no longer be a 7-foot culvert. Roughly, to meet the Army Corps engineers is a permitting agency. We're probably talking a 24-foot span now, from 7 to 24 feet to meet their standards, to be able to get it permitted to cross. So we're talking from a culvert to a bridge. Anything over 20 feet is now considered a bridge. So it's just not as putting a 7-foot culvert back in place and calling it good. Doesn't meet the new standards of the 100-year storm. We don't have an exact cost yet, because we don't have all the information back for the engineer to design what is actually needed. So we have what we think is gonna be needed with a rough cost, and that's why the current question says, do not exceed a certain amount. So there is a little bit of room in there type of deal. But this was, like I said, all of a sudden just came upon us in June and saying this needed emergency replacement. Well, there's an in-stream window, so we'll probably have to get an exception to be replaced outside of the window. Usually in-stream means it has to be done from July 15th to October 1st. And based on the condition of it, it needs to be done prior to that. So we're gonna be asking for an exception through that, through the Army Corps as well. The funding came up to how we had to do it. The council could do an emergency ordinance, but it has to be paid back in that fiscal year. So that's why we're trying to get this all wrapped into when we have a vote coming to be able to meet all the standards in the charter that has to happen.
Any questions for Mr. Cross?
Will this need to be like a special type thing like 113 was at the inlet? It was something about, it had to be able to let the turtles go through.
Right, it could have to have a rock bottom. It's based on what they find, and what inland fisheries also has a say into what type of bottom it has to have. So that's why there's this in-stream window that they call based on what inland fishery says and everything else. We might have to get, like I said, an exception into that to get the replacement done.
So you're looking at pretty much like a cement bridge
Correct.
going
Like I
over
said,
it.
right now, they're guessing the structure will be 24 feet in width.
You couldn't have just replaced it in the middle of the night?
Not that easy.
Just a thought. Any further questions for Mr. Cross?
Just, this won't get approved right now, but this work needs to be done now, right? Can you,
We're in the process of doing the work because it needs
yeah, okay,
needs to be done. There's 40 houses after the bridge
yeah,
that could possibly not have access if it was a complete failure, so.
right.
So you're shoring it up to allow the cars to go by, but limiting,
Limiting the weight tons and everything
Weight
else.
tons.
Yeah.
so not a lot of oil deliveries, hopefully, this time of year.
It's 22 tons, so like a single axle oil truck can still go down.
Still go down it, okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
How long will this take, time frame? 3 weeks?
Engineers are estimating 3 weeks of road down to 1 lane. So part of the additional cost is there really isn't a great way of access into the area to those 40 houses. So it's gonna have to be done 1 lane at a time.
Okay, that was part of my question, is how will traffic be affected? But there will be 1 lane.
That's what it's gonna be based on what they have to do for structure, but they know they have to keep 1 lane open.
But remember, they will have the flagger in the can there directing traffic
Is that in?
24/7, correct?
Have we,
We're
has,
putting it to bid. We have to wait for the money.
Doesn't have
Like
it
you
yet.
said, Scott can't apply for the money until, I can't get the money till like fall for that.
thank you.
You guys are killing me tonight. Any further questions for Mr. Cross or Mr. Diswalde? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to recommend referendum question 3, Middle Road Culvert?
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Watson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Rosemary? Did you want to second that?
Sure.
Oh.
You beat me, I was going to.
Okay, we have a motion by Heidi Watson, second by Rosemary Kane. Any further discussion? So I'll do a roll call vote. Rosemary Kane?
Yes.
Steve Nesbit, yes. Joseph Paul?
Yes.
Heidi Watson?
Yes.
4 yes, the motion passes. This concludes our business for tonight. Just one question for the committee. Typically, the Budget Committee does not meet until just before budget season. Do you want to wait to elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary until I can certainly call a meeting about a month before the budget process would start, so we can have that formalized and have any discussions pre-budget, since we'll have a few new members on there? Would you wait until then?
That's okay with me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Very good. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Rosemary Kane. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Heidi Watson. Rosemary Kane? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Steve Nesbit, yes. Joseph Paul?
Yes.
Heidi Watson?
Yes.
We are adjourned.